the brilliant thing for Keir Starmer is the fact that he will have major authority over his own party, because he has achieved something that was extraordinary in that, only 5 years ago, the consensus was that it would take the Labour Party a decade to really get into a position where it could actually compete for power again. So, for the first time in a very long time, we have a Prime Minister who has major, confidence from his colleagues, which really empowers him to act, which empowers him to take much more bold actions. But I think we probably won't see anything too extreme over the next 6 months. I think generally, we will see a settling in period of stabilization. And I think really only at a later point will we see Keir Starmer with a second phase of policy that will be perhaps quite a bit more radical to what we're going to see over this initial phase.
Okay, interesting. Ambassador Wadhwa, do you also see some sort of shift now under the leadership of Keir Starmer, India-UK relationship? Are there going to be some big announcements, expectations, some game-changing promises made between the two? Or it's going to be diplomatics as usual?
I see more of a continuity in the relationship and building up on the strategic partnership. And I think it's most important to note here that both the Conservatives and the Labour have stressed upon the importance of the free trade agreement with India. Much of the work on that agreement has already been completed. So whichever party would come to power, it was expected that these negotiations would come to a fruitful conclusion in the nearest future. So that's one step that can be taken quite easily. Secondly, I think it's the involvement of the UK in the Indo-Pacific, and that's where Keir Starmer has talked about the involvement of United Kingdom in the region, which is also a sign of continuity as far as the British policy is concerned towards the region. And as far as India is concerned, that's also good news. The fact that Labour has been very strong in advocating climate change, and also they've laid stress on new technologies going forward, and environment and education. I think all these areas are ones in which both sides are very keen to advance their relations. So I'm quite sanguine about a bright future for Indo-UK relationship.
Adam, I would like to have your thoughts on this point on dominance of Indian diaspora and the way soon the Prime Minister Keir Starmer has always reached out to the diaspora during the campaigning, as reiterated by Ambassador Wadhwa also. Major parties also fielded Indian community as candidates. In fact, I've been told a record number of candidates from Indian community have not only contested in these elections, but won these elections. Your thoughts?
Well, of course, the UK has a historic relationship with India that goes back, a very long time. And I'm really pleased that, of course, that, UK-India relations has really become a kind of point of political consensus in the UK that is very much based on the Indian diaspora in the UK, which has had such an extraordinary and profound impact upon the UK's economy in terms of contributions to its jobs and its culture as well. So I think that's really formed the basis for a sort of modern view about, considering India to be a major strategic partner, which of course, as you mentioned, Keir Starmer does, and he mentioned during his campaign. I think in terms of a trade deal, the one point of caution that I would make is that Keir Starmer and the Labour Party have indicated that they may be looking to change the nature of the deal that the UK has with the EU. Now, if that fundamentally changes the way that the UK does its customs with the EU, that may impede on the UK's ability to unilaterally make trade deals with other countries such as India. So we'll have to watch that relationship quite closely, because it may have an impact on India. But I would say that, even with that having been said, we know that the UK considers a trade deal with India to be a major strategic and, something that's crucial importance to UK foreign policy.
Okay. Ambassador Wadhwa, would you like to add to that? And final comments from you, sir. How do you see the shift in UK polity with Labour back in the game?
Well, I think I don't have much to add to what I've said already, but I think in terms of continuity, yes, there would be continuity, but there would be obviously some differences which could be there, as far as migration and mobility, for example, is concerned, and also policies with regard to the people who are going to work in the UK temporarily. That is one issue which was negotiated at great length with the previous government. as far as India is concerned. And here there would be nuances which would be different. So I would tend to agree that there would be some issues that will crop up going forward in the FTA negotiations, which have been there in the past. But I'm quite confident that those can be quite easily overcome, because after all, as far as India is concerned, if you have a give and take in services, then I don't see a problem going forward in that, because both economies are mutually interdependent as far as services are concerned. And I think that building on the services side, investments will also go forward between the two countries.
All right, sir. Adam, last word from you. What are you picking up as far as Conservative camp is concerned? Now, we believe that there's this battle already on to seize the leadership. Who takes it over next?
Well, what the Conservative Party needs right now is unity, but I think we're actually going to see the exact opposite, which is going to be fueled by the fact that the sort of hard right Reform Party has actually won 4 seats in Parliament and won about 16% of the vote. So, that is really going to fuel the civil war that's taken place in the Conservative Party, really since the 2016 Brexit referendum, about how far to the right to go. So I think there's going to be a major battle in the Conservative Party. And I think, it's really important for the Conservatives to recognise that they try to move to the right of the, of politics. And actually all that happened is that voters ended up voting for the real thing, the real sort of authentic, version of authoritarianism. So I don't think it's a strategy that will work for them. But I think, we're going to see a period of opposition for the Conservatives for a very long time, similar to what we saw under the Labour Party over the last decade, really.
All right, we'll leave it there.